Okay, hi everyone, Gary Wilson here. Welcome to tonight's live investor agent webinar. Also, everyone in any of the other programs, buying rentals, managing rentals, flipping properties, and wholesaling. Welcome aboard, and a special welcome to all the newer folks in New Jersey, New York. A lot of you are on your first webinar, and a lot of you will recognize what we're going to go over tonight because I go over this booklet in the class. So, in any case, let's go ahead and get started here. The booklet is over the years has been one of the most popular campaigns. It's not a broadcast mailer. It's actually designed to be targeted, marketed. In other words, we pre-select our audience that's going to receive the booklet. Okay, we pre-select the audience. Now, there are groups of people who we've already determined are going to more likely be responsive to the booklet and also provide higher conversion rates. Okay, so we'll go over that here in a little bit. But what you want to determine is what are your goals for using the booklet? Just like any marketing campaign, think of it as a little business. Each campaign is its own business, so it should have its own set of goals, its own set of action steps that you follow to achieve the booklet, right? And literally everything that you can think of you would do for a business, you want to do for every marketing campaign. So I know in the beginning, what I recommend for newer agents is to not do a lot of booklets at first. Just do 25 booklets. That's all we suggest. Now you want to again pre-select your audience, which we'll go over in a moment. But that audience you want to send the booklet to up to 12 times. When people respond to you, you no longer need to send them the booklet, right? Because they've responded to you. So you send the booklet up to 12 times, and you want to change the booklet, some of the content of the booklet with each mailing. And we'll go over that as we go through the checklist here, okay? It is a repeat process. It's direct response marketing. And essentially it's a 12-step. You want to send this out 12 times over a year's period, okay? So always think about, matter of fact, everybody here should be writing down right now as we go through this, the answers and your action items for each of these steps. So what are your goals with using the booklet, okay? Some of you want to work specifically with flippers, so we create the booklet just for flippers by putting examples of flips in the booklet. Some of you want to work with landlords who are buying rentals, so you want to make sure the booklet is loaded with rentals, examples of rentals, and target that audience. And different groups of people will have different investment objectives. Different clients will have different objectives. Some of your clients will obviously want to do both. They want to do flips and rentals, okay, and that's okay. You really, though, I suggest strongly suggest that you create separate booklets, one set of booklets for rentals and one set of booklets for flips, and we'll go over the details of those as we go through the checklist here, okay? But the main point with that whole discussion there is you want to establish your goals, what it is you're looking to achieve with these booklets, okay? The next thing is to determine your group. Now, there are several groups that make really good investors. We can determine that based on history, and there are certain common character traits like the vocation that they're in or hobbies they may have, things like that. So what I always suggest to anybody who's doing this for the first time or relatively new is before you go address any particular niche group is to address your own database first, what we call your sphere, okay? So in your database, one of the exercises you should engage in, and I suggest do this at least on an annual basis, if not more often, is go through your database and first off, ask a few questions. Number one is for each record, okay, ask the question, how do you know that person? How did you meet them? Okay, when did you meet them? And what do you remember about them? And you know what I'm looking for, what you're looking for, the answer is, would you believe that they're interested in investing? And you can rank them 1 to 10, 1 being a not very interested at all, and 10 being very highly interested, okay? The people that we want to market to are the 8s, 9s, and 10s, okay? When it comes to investing, everybody else would be considered, you know, an owner occupant or some other category. But for the sake of this exercise, we're looking at people who we believe have a high interest in investing. So one of the best things about going through your database is it gives you an opportunity to clean up your database. So as you go through, if you don't remember much about them, and it's been like 18 years, since you've had any contact with them, or maybe you attempt to contact them, and the phone number no longer is good, the email address isn't good, and when you send something in the mail, you get it comes returned to you. Well, just delete them, clean up your database. You definitely want to keep the database clean on a regular basis, because if you don't, it'll get quite it can get out of hand over time. I know for a fact, I can tell you, one of my main database at one point had over 70,000 people in it. And that may sound good, but the fact is easily 90% of them, I couldn't tell you anything about them, So we dramatically reduced that down. We're now down to about 14,000 people in a database, but we know them, every single person I've either met, or I have met in one way, shape, or form. Okay, and I have current, accurate information. So it's a great side benefit to do this, which is again cleaning up your database. So in any case, going through the exercise, as you might imagine, might take some time. So here's what I recommend, and you may want to write this down, is just choose one letter of the alphabet for each day. So tomorrow you could go through everybody whose last name begins with an A and ask those questions and go through the exercise, and delete them if you don't believe that you have any way to contact them, and rank them 1 to 10. If it's anything, on the low end, 1s, 2s, 3s, again, they're probably not investor material. They're probably just your owner occupant. Maybe you can get referrals out of them. But anything that's 8, 9, and 10, you want to market to them. Now, one of the benefits, another benefit of doing this approach, is that you're not hitting your entire database all the time. You want to market to your database only when necessary and only on purpose. You should have purposeful marketing campaigns. So in other words, when you market to investors, you're not going to be marketing to your entire database. Only the investors, only the clients who you believe would make good investors and would want to invest. And likewise, when you're marketing for simply owner-occupant business, you would not send those campaigns to investors, generally speaking, okay? So what that means is, you can segment your database and only market to them on an as-needed basis. And what that does is it allows you to have or maintain a higher response rate. See, the challenge is when you keep marketing, when you keep fishing that pond over and over and over again, people will just go cold on you. They'll just stop responding because it's just you're contacting them way too much, okay? So keep that in mind. One of the great benefits. Now, in any case, what I'm getting at is this: whatever that number is you end up with, let's say you've got 35 8s, 9s, and 10s. We'll go ahead and send all 35 of them the booklet. 25, the 25 that we suggest is a sort of a benchmark with unmets, people you haven't met. But for people you've met, don't just keep it to 25 booklets. Send everybody a copy of the booklet who ranks as an 8, 9, or 10 as far as being highly likely to want to invest, okay? So in any case, that's a great way to start. Start with your database. The other thing too is you can follow up with phone calls, because remember, you know them, and ask them and say, look, even if you don't really want to buy an investment property, I understand, and maybe now's not the right time, but would you mind please providing a character testimonial in your own words about me? Okay, this is you asking your client. So you can get character testimonials. Now, this is a big deal because when people choose to do business with us, guys, it's typically based on the fact that they feel like they know us, like us, and trust us. Not necessarily on how much they believe you know. You can first get their attention by demonstrating aptitude and skills and knowledge, but long term they want to do business with you because they like you, right? So keep that in mind. I would always look for testimonials, and you can put them in your booklets and also interchange them. So let's say you've got a total of 36 testimonials. Each month, put a different group of 3 testimonials on the back cover of your booklet, okay? But in any case, as you might imagine, this will take 26 days if you do 1 letter per month. At the end of the month, you've got a clean database, you've got it segmented, and now you can market to them correctly and get higher response rates. Now, having said all that, okay, the next step is I want you to look at number 2 here. And once you feel like you're built up a little bit of confidence and competence, is go ahead and pick a niche group. Again, a niche group is something, a group of people that are connected by vocation, by hobby, just something that resonates with you. Okay, so it should be something that you feel passionate about. A group of people you're already connected to or would like to connect to. And it could be, quite frankly, any group of people. I would tell you, though, the top groups of people are the following, and some of you already know this, but I'm going to repeat it. Remember, repetition is the mother of learning. So please write this down. One of the top groups of people to work with are chiropractors, okay? Chiropractors make great investors. Another group of people are dentists, okay? The dental group, you know, orthodontists, pediatric dentists, you know, general family practice dentists. So in any case, they make great investors. And by the way, those first 2 groups, the dental group and the chiropractic group, guys, they both tend to favor rentals. This is just what we've experienced over the years. They tend to favor rentals. So you may want to write that down. So when you build a booklet, just follow any example that I'll show you here in a minute. Follow that example, which is an example of a booklet for people interested in rental properties, okay? And the reason I think they're drawn to rentals is we like to work with private business owners who have multiple office locations. In other words, a chiropractor or a dentist, where you know, he or she may have multiple office locations. The reason is if they have multiple office locations, would you believe that they're entrepreneurial and, in fact, really business-minded people? Of course, the answer is probably yes. So in any case, keep that in mind, because people who are more entrepreneurial or business-minded are really typically drawn to investing, and more specifically to rental properties, because long-term, it's a better way to build wealth and income. In any case, dental group and chiropractic group. Another great group is teachers. And I know some of you are thinking, well, gee, they don't make a lot of money, but you know, maybe that's why they want to invest, guys, because they want to make a lot of money. Okay, they're tired of being broke. You know what I mean? They want to have more money. So they like flipping because they can take their summers off. You know, they can leverage that time to build decks, to put on siding, to do a lot of the work themselves. Okay, so in any case, those guys like flipping. So when you build a booklet for those folks, you would load the booklet with examples of flips. And the way you do that is this: when you can scour your MLS system, or if you're in New York, you have a different. It's not really a traditional MLS. But in any case, look for examples of flips. And the way you do that is to look for properties that have sold twice within the last year. Okay. You know, and by the way, when you look at the prices, if the initial purchase is lower than the second sale by a 30% margin, for example, that's probably a flip, right? So what I do is I look for examples of properties that have sold twice in a year, and I will load them both into the booklet. The initial purchase listing and the sale listing when they sold it after they've remodeled it. And then what I do before I do that is I look for ones where the same real estate agent was the buyer's agent on the initial purchase and the selling agent, listing agent on the eventual sale. The reason is I know that agent probably is like me and has figured out that working with flippers is a pretty good thing. You get multiple commissions. And I would call them and ask them, say, hey, can you tell me what your investor did for that property? Looked like a pretty good deal. And you'll get all kinds, tell you, hey, you should have seen the chandeliers, the countertops, and you get your story, what we call the story, to connect the dots, to connect the before and after images of the property. So in any case, if you consider building that booklet with flips like that, you can really do a good job of attracting people. So who are interested in flipping, show them real life examples. Okay, that's how we build that booklet for flippers or people who want to flip. Now that's teachers. Another great group is firemen and policemen. They make excellent investors. Okay. But by the way, people have always asked me which do they lean towards, flipping or rentals? And I will tell you that it's probably both. I've seen a lot of people start off flipping and eventually settle on buying rentals over time just because it's more long-term. The wealth and income is more long-term. Flipping is great for raising capital, but it's more like a job. If you stop flipping, you stop your income flow. So the fact is any case, the next group, so by the way, firemen and policemen, again, another group of people in some areas. I'll just use this as an example because I just spent a month in New Jersey. The former Governor Christie, was not really negotiating with the state police. State police were looking for a better compensation package, and he basically wasn't negotiating with them. And that went on for most groups, most precincts, for up to 3 years. And so those guys really didn't know what was going to happen down the road. And if you think about it, somebody in that state of mind, you might think, well, maybe they're going to pull back the reins and keep it tight-fisted with the money. And that may be true for some of them, but a lot of others were like, man, I got to do something else. And so they start investing. Okay. Remember, not everybody invests because they're flush with money. A lot of people invest because they want to be flush with money. Right. So in any case, firemen, policemen make great investors. All right. Another great category is engineers. I love engineers. They will, again, do both flipping and rentals, although I will tell you, long term, they're going to focus more on the rentals. Okay. Because they understand the business model of rentals. You have your positive cash flow, net operating income, based on the rentals. You've got appreciation, the properties go up in value. You've got depreciation, which is the phantom write-off for owning the income producing asset. You've got equity pay down, which is, over time, if you have a mortgage, the mortgage is being paid off, which gives you more equity there. And at the end of the day, there is a fifth way, which is, quite frankly, you can sell the property, you can transfer it into a REIT, real estate investment trust, you can sell it into a closed-end mutual fund that you control. Number of strategies. You can refinance it. You can just simply refinance the property, pull out the equity. But what I'm getting at is buying rentals is far better, longer prospects and benefits to investors. So, and what I'm getting at it is back to the original statement. It's engineers, even if they are flipping, I can promise you at some point they'll start to focus more and more on rentals. It's just been our experience with engineers. Okay, another great group is pilots, airline pilots, cargo pilots, military pilots, agricultural pilots. They'll do both, but I will say, again, same thing, long term. Eventually they'll start to focus on more of the buy and hold strategy. But I will tell you, if pilots will do anything that they can make money, and they're very smart and they're very good at what they do. They're great at looking at data and making quick decisions. They like doing the checklist, the analysis, things like that. It just all makes sense to them. Okay, so that's another excellent group. And you've probably heard me say this before. Those guys are a lot of fun to work with, man. Okay, all right, another great group, military. I love military folks. They're more disciplined. Typically, they're also typically more respectful, and they also have something called VA eligibility. Even when they retire, as long as they retire or have an honorable discharge, they can maintain their VA eligibility. All right, and what that means is anybody who's eligible for a VA loan doesn't have to put money down. They don't have to put any money down. Okay. Which makes it quite easy for them to get in the properties, right? So what you can do is anything up to 4 units, they can purchase that. Now they have to live in one of the units for a period of time. Okay, but let's say they get transferred. One of the beautiful things is if they take the property they currently have in whatever base they're located at, they can refinance that property with a conventional mortgage. that frees up their VA eligibility, and then they can go out at their next state duty station, buy the next property because they freed up their VA eligibility. Okay, and they can buy a property there, and they can continue to accumulate properties every time they get transferred. And by the way, they can refinance those VA purchase properties even before they leave if they want to, so they can buy multiple properties in the area. Another thing to remember about VA eligibility is it's not necessarily based on the number of properties they own, it's more based on the dollar amount that they're eligible for borrowing. So if they're eligible for up to $500,000 and they're in an area where the average duplex is going for $100,000, well, theoretically, they can buy 5 duplexes. Now they have to follow the VA rules and all that, and refinance the thing if they do decide to move out of it and buy the next one. But what I'm getting at is it's a great group of people to work with. When they retire, they keep going, they keep their VA eligibility, and they keep investing. Awesome group of people. Now, real quick, if you guys could, I want you to type in, let me know if there's a group of people you did not hear me mention that you believe would make good investors, or you have experience with them. Because I can tell you over the years, there are other groups, they just weren't as, they haven't surfaced as much as these 7 groups have. For example, accountants tend to make pretty good investors. They usually don't do as much as other people, but they're good investors. Building contractors, tradespeople make great investors, for example. So if you have a group of people that's been favorable for you, absolutely, just chime in, type it in. I'll call it out here on the line for everybody. Okay. And again, so those are the 7 groups of people primarily, and you want to focus on. Oh, Peggy's saying physicians. Peggy, in the medical group, guys, what I will tell you is you have to segment the medical group. This is what we've learned over the years. Surgeons in particular are quite difficult to work with, not their personalities, but they just have so much demand on their time, guys. Okay. A lot of times they'll end up being investors passively. They will provide funding for other people to invest. Okay. And they just expect a certain return on their capital, but they'll provide funding. Now, excluding surgeons, the other groups could be clinical, doctors with clinical hours, like a oncologist has regular hours, for example, podiatrists, pediatricians, family medicine typically. They're easier to work with. There's also doctors that actually don't practice medicine. They simply do medical research. Okay. And by the way, there's anesthesiologists. There's lots of different groups within the medical field. Nurses are part of the medical field too, so you might consider nurses. Okay. So let's see what other groups we have up here. Beverly's agreeing that contractors. Peggy says attorneys. Attorneys didn't make like the top 10, Peggy. In fact, I do know attorneys who invest, several of them, but quite frankly, it's actually is a percentage of the whole. Attorneys, very few of them actually invest like as much as firemen, policemen, or chiropractors, or dentists, or things like that, or groups like that. Excuse me. They also tend to want to be more independent. So I've worked with attorneys in the past, and what they'll do is, instead of using our board's forms for sales agreements, our office forms for sales agreements, the ones that are pre-approved all the way up to the provincial level or the state level, or if you're in the States, they like to use their own contracts. And that may be all well and good, but the challenge is with a non-pre-approved contract in real estate is this. The pre-approved contracts are all pre-approved all the way to the Supreme Court level, okay, in each individual state or province. Now, what that means is if there's ever litigation, a court case, that document, the sales agreement, will stand up in court. It can't be scrutinized. It can't be disagreed with, because it's been pre-approved. For example, if you have a contract that's not pre-approved by the state, it starts with the State Board of Realtors typically and goes up to the court system. Number one, that non-pre-approved contract may not meet the plain language laws that exist now, have been for quite some time. If it doesn't meet the plain language laws, any attorney could throw it out. Also, the fact that it's not pre-approved, and there was a famous case. There was a Section 8 tenant that had appealed an eviction all the way up to the Common Pleas Court, because and what happened at the Common Pleas Court is that judge threw the case out because the contract, the lease, was not a pre-approved lease. It was actually a HUD lease, Housing Urban Development, okay, Section 8 lease. And the judge said, I don't care that it's a federal government lease. It has not been pre-approved in the state court system, and it did not meet the plain language laws. It's a famous case. And then that poor owner, the landlord, had to get all the way back to the beginning and start all over again. And that case had been going on for 13 months, okay? Pretty dramatic. So in any case, what I'm getting at is attorneys will often like to use their own documents, and they're also very one-sided, like our pre-approved contracts are neutral. Most attorneys will draw up a contract that's very favorable to one party over the other, and it just makes it more difficult. That's just the bottom line. So in any case, let's see, next category here. You want to copy the template of the booklet that's provided to you. So let's go into My Investment Services. And I'll show you where this is, myinvestmentservices.com. And we're going to go to, first go to the members area. Okay. We're going to click on silver level. You know what? I forgot. I just erased everything. Let's see if this will work. I cleared out all my cookies and everything over the weekend. And now, hey, okay, good. I've pre-filled it. Okay, so let's go in here. This is the silver level membership area. For all the new folks, you want to get very, very familiar with this part of the website, okay? Everything's in here. Cash buyers report, private lenders report, the blogs, the newsletters. There's a special webinar on how to do your own workshop. The weekly Q&A webinar, so we'll look at that in a second. Let's just go ahead and look at this real quick. So the weekly Q&As, guys, we're going to scroll down to the year 2016, okay, and we're looking for February in 2016. We're getting close. I think it's February it is 25th. Okay, so February 25th is the booklet. How to use it, everything about it. It's recorded, so you can watch this at any time you want and get a full, complete description of the booklet again. And you can also strip off the audio and make an MP3 out of it. So in any case, these are all the previously recorded webinars. All right, these are celebrity and other student interviews. The premier ebooks. Let's just look at this real quick here. So some of the folks we've interviewed over the years. Mark Rickard is in the mobile home space. Let's see, Anna Jenkins is the former #1 agent in her region. She invests, she buys rentals, she manages rentals, multiple streams of income. Justin Betters, same thing, he's an investor, he's a broker, and he does property management. Jeff Quinton, developer out in the Ocean City, New Jersey area. Daniel David, Lexington, Kentucky. Made it real big with Twitter. I mean, he had a Twitter following of 5,000 people in like a week. Okay. Teresa Martin, broker, attorney, investor, also runs her own investor club, RIA Group in New York City. Andrew Cushman, a huge investor on the West Coast. Sam Unreal, Tony Salgado, all kinds of interviews here, right? In any case, so you guys can take a look at this. Watch these whenever you want. All right. Let's see. Premier ebooks. All right. These are all of the books you have available to you that are normally for sale, but you get them for free as long as you're an active student, active member. Okay. And there's other ebooks that are free no matter what. Okay. Things you can use to attract new clients. Right. But here's what I want to get to. All right. Marketing techniques and docs. If you look in here, there's a letter that we send to owners for getting listings, and here's the investor booklet. So you want to download this onto your hard drive. It's the original Word document. We'll open this up here in a second once it loads. And we're going to walk through it step by step by using the checklist as our guide. So let's bring this up, okay? By the way, let's go back to the checklist real quick. So we're going to copy that template, all right, right out of the right from the website, okay. We talked about building your booklet to appeal to either flippers or landlords. We talked about that, okay. Landlords, for example, again, like rental properties in the area. And by the way, when you put samples of properties, guys, for the rental version of the booklet, make sure you mix it up with a variety of sold properties, actively listed properties, and under contract properties. By the way, for all the investors on the line here, one of the things I want to emphasize is this. This tool, as well as most others, actually come from the investor world. They don't come from the owner-occupant world. So, for example, this booklet, we've been able to use over the years to attract money, to attract financing, to buy properties for groups of people or just buying bigger properties. So, for example, you could build the booklet to appeal to surgeons who likely would like to invest, and they have the money, they just have the time. We can show them examples of properties that they can participate in a passive way. They can provide the funding for the purchases of those properties, okay? So the booklet, again, a great way to, it's multifaceted. There's lots of applications for the booklet. We'll just go over the example of the booklet tonight as if we're attracting new clients, but just know that for you investors out there, you can use this to attract other people to invest with you and do joint ventures, okay? So flippers, we talked about this already, providing examples of flips and before and after. The printout of the property when it was first sold by the investor, the printout of the property when it was eventually put back on the market and resold to end users, okay? And you have your booklet there. So the next thing is this, is the cover letter, sorry, the cover page and introductory letter. So let's go back to the booklet. You see right here, loading, cover page, all right. Well, that was interesting, the thing we just logged, there it is. Cover page, we always start with this phrase, where the smart money is. Again, it creates an open loop in the reader's mind. So whenever I say where the smart money is and stop right there, what is the reader, what question is formulating inside the reader's mind? So if you guys want to answer that, tell me what you think is going on inside the reader's mind when they read that statement, where the smart money is, and it stops, okay? And probably some, you're getting it, that's right, they're asking, well, where is it? Well, before you give them the answer, you always get them a photo of the area. I recommend something that has something that's aesthetically appealing, like a sky with some blue and some green and trees and things like that, but also something that looks business oriented, like all these nice buildings here, right? These are nice buildings. Some of them 40, 50 stories tall. This is a Pittsburgh skyline. So you give them a picture of the area. If you do get a picture online, we do recommend that you purchase the photo, then you have the legal right to reproduce it, okay? So in any case, the next thing is you want to provide your broker's name and your contact information. That's my old brokerage company before I did my merger, right? And your email and phone number, okay? Right, that's cover letter. Now, the next thing is an introductory letter, basically intro letter. Now this one is an older version. I think it's too lengthy. It's got 3 paragraphs. I think you could actually trim it down to 2 or even 1 paragraph. But the main thing you would have put in here is to not talk so much about yourselves. And you'll see I've done that in here in the second paragraph. What you want to do is put something in here that grabs the reader's attention within the first paragraph. In other words, what's in it for them? WIIFM, what's in it for me? In this case, them. Okay, you might even put something in there about the percentage of renters in the area. Okay, particularly if you're appealing to people who buy rentals, or if you're appealing to people who like to flip, you could put something in there about the favorable pricing in the area. So it's favorable compared to the rest of the country. You might, if that city or town has won any awards or been ranked a certain way, you want to put that stuff in that letter, okay? So that's intro letter, okay? And again, always put your content information there. Short table of contents, that's all it is. The next thing is always give them a story. In this case, an article I wrote many years ago about investing in real estate whenever you get nervous about the stock market, which a lot of people are starting to do. They see the stock market going up and teetering at the top, and they've seen this before, and maybe it's time to start thinking about real estate. So in any case, I gave them a few definitions at first, what it means to have what net operating income means, what cash on cash return means, what debt service is, what your cap rate is. And then I give them an example of an investment I made years ago. I give them the pro forma on the purchase, which is what this is, income and expense. Okay. And then I give them pro forma on the sale when I eventually sold it, income and expense. Okay. And I also gave them everything in between, right? The story. Now, I also give them this, a summary of the investment. This one is particularly appealing because I show them that I only put up $5,000 of my own money. I actually borrowed it in this example. The seller did some owner financing with me at 8% for 30 years. Okay, I had a 10-year balloon. But in any case, sold it years later, bought it for 42, sold it for 72. So it basically made 30 grand there, but I also made cash flow every year I owned the property. I also had depreciation, right? So at the end of the day, if you add it all up, I turned $5,000 into $70,000 in 11 years. Not a bad deal. But in any case, if you put that story in these booklets, something like that, and that'll really get people's attention. So in any case, then I wrap it up with a little bit of, I call it a preaching moment, okay? You can see I wrote that, well, it was only 7 years ago. I thought that was 10 years ago. In any case, great, and you can use this. You all have my permission to use this. I put this in there for you so you can reuse it, okay? Now, the next thing we do is provide samples of properties. Now, again, this is an example of a booklet dealing with rentals, okay? So this is mostly rental properties. But one thing I want to emphasize is to not just put in their active listings, but to put in their sold properties, under contract properties, things like that. Mix it up a little bit, okay? The reason is when I first did the booklet, I did it all active properties because I'm thinking, well, the booklet's supposed to sell properties. But the reality is the booklet is not supposed to sell properties. Actually, what is the booklet supposed to sell? Yeah, the booklet's supposed to sell you, that's right. Good answer. So in any case, you want to mix it up with samples of properties, different shapes and sizes, different price ranges, and more importantly, some are active, some are under contract, and some are sold. Because the reason is you want to show them that places are selling, when you show them that places are under demand, the people, there's a demand for these properties, okay? And they need to get in while the getting's good. So these are some great examples out here, by the way. These are kind of old, but this kind of stuff that was going on, probably these are maybe, I don't know, 10 years old or something, who knows. But in any case, you load the property full of sample properties. Now at the end, the fourth part of this booklet is to give them a example of a tool you can use. A tool you can use to analyze the properties, to break down the cash flow, break down the income and the expense, okay? So I'm getting to one right now where we're gonna get through these examples of properties. And I think that may be the last one, or close to the last one. And then what you do is number 5, write the word tool, T-O-O-L. And all we're doing is providing examples of properties. I'm sorry, we're providing a tool that shows a breakdown or analysis of the properties, which I'm going to show you here in a second. The tool, what it shows you is it's like a spreadsheet that we took. What we did is we took, here it is right here. Some of you are probably familiar with this. What we did was we took, hang on one second. See if I can make this go up a little bit. There we go. What we did is we took Schedule E from the federal government, IRS. It's Irs Schedule E. A lot of people who own rentals file Schedule E with their tax returns. And Schedule E deals with rental properties. Now this is, of course, landscape view, but if you look up here, you have the units identified and the rental income per unit. So you start off with the income first. What is the income coming in per unit? Okay, then you provide a projected vacancy rate, gross effective income. Then you also put in your expenses, property management, taxes, insurance, maintenance and repairs, utilities, so forth and so on. You total up the expenses just like you total up the income. And at the end of the day, you have your net operating income. Okay, so you've got your gross receipts minus your expenses equals your net operating income. Okay, in other words, you obviously hope your expenses are less than your income. So which one was that? Rockledge. Yeah, that was a nice property. In any case, a great example of a tool. So we put tools in these booklets. Okay. Now, at the end of the booklet, I like to have some testimonials, which I'll show you here in a second. They don't have to be testimonials as far as your skill level or your aptitude when it comes to real estate investing. They could simply be character testimonials. Some of these are character testimonials. Here's one from Victor. Victor actually was special forces and then ended up working special security details in Washington, D.C. Pretty neat guy, actually. Pete Lewis, airline pilot. Any case, these are examples of testimonials. At the end of the day, at the end of the booklet, I wrap it up with an offer, right? Basically, there's no obligation. You work with us, we'll give you some free information, and that's the end of your booklet. So, in any case, let's go back to the checklist. Let's see, that should be, oops, where was that? Here we go, checklist, okay? So we talked about the introductory letter, all right? Oops, let me go back up here for a second. Yep, so we also the article, I mentioned that you could use my article. It's we make it available to you. You don't have to pay for it. You can make it your own. You can put your picture and your name on it. At the very end, you should probably see something like information provided by, and then put my name. I'm not necessarily overly concerned about that, but if it makes you feel better, do that. And that is supposedly what the legal folks recommend whenever you use someone else's materials, to provide a little bit of what they call I think a reference. You're making a reference to that. So, in any case, again, I always put in here, please use your own testimonials. I can't tell you how many times students have sent booklets to me that they created, and it has my testimonials on the back. In any case, there's lots of ways you can find people that you can send these groups to, okay? There is a book called the Big Book of Lists. The Big Book of Lists is available in most major metropolitan areas. What it does is for every industry in your area, every category, the book gives you the top players in that industry. It actually gives you their contact information too. Phone number, email, and physical address. So look for a Big Book of Lists, okay? It's produced by, it's basically, the website's bizjournals.com. And I think the accounting firm Deloitte & Touche is the one that produces it. Yellow Pages is another great place to look for potential people to send the booklet to. Another thing to remember is a lot of industries require some form of licensing, okay? And in virtually every state and province, there's what's called a licensure database. Really what it comes down to is sometimes they call it the Bureau of Incorporation. So whenever somebody sets up a business, like a chiropractor, dentist, an engineer, anybody who owns a HVAC company, for example, they set up a business. It has to be registered with the state. Well, you can go look on a state website and see all those. You can actually see, for example, chiropractors, and you can see all the offices that they own. So you get contact information. It's an amazing resource. By the way, other people, you might think, well, how can I locate these other folks? Well, every group of people has an association or organization for that group. So for example, there are associations for teachers, for different types of engineers, for everything you could possibly imagine. In fact, if you want to write this down, guys, there actually is an association called the Association of Associations. You can imagine that, out of Washington, D.C. What's interesting is one of my nieces has a master's degree in statistics, and she used to work for that Association of Associations, which is how I got introduced to it, actually. And what you can do is go on to Association of Associations. They have a website, and you can look at all the associations that exist. There's several thousand of them. What you can do is you can contact those associations. Some of them, their information is free and open to the public. Some of them you got to pay. Some of them you got to register to be like a vendor for their association. For example, years ago, I joined the American Bankers Association. Okay. I wasn't a banker at the time. I used to be a banker, but at the time I wasn't. The reason I joined is I got to meet all the players in the world of bank lending. Okay. And it resulted in a lot of business for me. I know people who joined their National Chiropractors Association as a vendor, and they would go to the annual events. And they got to the point where this one guy said they actually thought he was a chiropractor. Okay. So just remember, there's always ways to find contact information for these folks. All right. So in any case, bottom line is this. We recommend that you send out 25 booklets at a time to this particular niche group. Always use the full-size legal envelope, the kind of you can put a booklet in so you don't have to bend it or fold it. Always handwrite the recipient's name and address on that, okay? And I'll give you a quick hint here. When you send these to, say, like a an orthodontist's office or a pediatrician's office or something like that, is handwrite at the top for Dr. So-and-so's eyes only. That'll really help a lot. Another thing you can do is this, is you can go in person and drop those things off in person, right? The other thing is this, is it's a repeat process. It's a 12 steps. So you want to do this every month for 12 months with the same group of people. Always change out the inventory every single month so you keep it fresh, okay? And once you get some traction going, you can open up other niche groups. So it's an awesome technique, guys. This technique is an excellent way for you to learn the business, for you to learn about the inventory in your area, to learn how to use some of the tools. And while you're at it, while you're learning all this, you're actually building a marketing campaign. Okay, so real quick, let me get back to this. I always like to follow up with the recipients in person at some point, not on the first mailing, but maybe after the second or third mailing. Okay, you can drum up a lot more business just by going in person, but let them have a couple of your booklets first over their first few months, because it'll be a warm conversation, not a cold conversation. You always, in spite of your best intentions and your anxiousness to get going, always interview everyone who does respond to you. Don't just get excited because a dentist responded to you. Get excited, but still do the interview process. That's in module 2 of your training programs, okay? Still interview them. You want to make sure they're ready, willing, and able, okay? You want to qualify everyone to make sure that they're capable. They have cash and or credit, okay? Let's see, also ask them to, once you've had an interview with them, to email you with a recap of the conversation, and only work with the ones who email you, okay? The ones who don't email you, they're telling you with their behavior what it's going to be like to work with them. So in any case, at that point, you got yourself a client. Now you begin to make profit. So let's bring the panel back over and see if we have any questions. So if everybody seems to be okay. So let's do this, guys. I'm going to get a hold of Marcus and see if he can come on board next week, okay? I'm not sure what happened. I hope he's okay. But he's been with us twice before, and we're going to go over tax lien certificates. So we'll just see if we can do that next week. It'll be Monday night. So next week, Monday, November 17th, 7 p.m. We will see you guys then. In the meantime, God bless you and your families. Have an awesome rest of the week and weekend. And if you want to go to, or you can go to, the 3-day event at the end of the month, remember, if you're an active student, you don't have to pay for it. 3 days of education. Plus, they feed you lunch both days, and coffee and stuff like that. But come get ready to learn and earn, network with everybody, set up some joint ventures, share some clients, and just basically have fun and bring your business to the next level. I promise you this, guys. For those of you that are going, when you leave, you will not be the same person you were when you first got there. Okay, it's actually really, really good. So in any case, look forward to seeing you all there, and I look forward to seeing you on next week's webinar too. Okay, take care, guys. God bless and good night. Bye-bye.